You're listening to Rocket Night.
Are you ready? Hey, tonight I'm gonna take you on a little trip. We're going down south by the mighty Mississippi. I'm gonna take you to a place where lights never dim. Bring your mother, your brother, and your best friend. I'm gonna show you where they dance out in the street. They'll tell you all about your body heat. Not gonna talk about it, just gonna do it. Get on down if you feel up good. Now, get on down.
Hi everyone, this is Andrea from Rock at Night, and I have a very special guest today, and he is our spotlight musician, and his name is Caleb Henry. Hi Caleb, how are you?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. How's California?
Good. We're about to get a major heat wave. Starting tomorrow, it's going to be 113. So.
Wow, 130.
Yeah.
I thought we were bad here.
Yeah.
Our weather's been pretty. We're hot and humid here, so it's not
Right.
too pretty. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your band?
Yeah. So I'm a solo artist. Just go by Caleb Henry, and then when I do shows, I always have my band back me up, and they go by the Customs. So typically when we play shows, it's under Caleb Henry and the Customs.
Okay, so you guys are from California, right? Cali band?
Yeah. We're all from. My drummer was born in Pennsylvania, but
Yeah.
grew up and raised here. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. How did you get started in music?
When I was pretty young, I started playing guitar. I think around 10 or 11. So for the past 12 or 13 years. I think I did the math correct on that. But yeah, I basically just started from my Uncle Mike. Was always playing guitar, and he grew up in Pasadena around Eddie Van Halen on the same street, and so picked up a lot of stuff from him. And I just remember always hearing him play, and it became really interesting to me the more I got into listening to music.
Wow.
The more I listened to it, the more I wanted to play it. And then we ended up finding every Thanksgiving we do little notes on something we're thankful for, and then something that we want to see happen in like the next year. We go around the family, we write it down, and in 1999, so I would have been 4 at the time. No, 3, 4. I would have been 4 at the time. And I had written down that I wanted to learn how to play guitar and harmonica. And then I guess I just completely forgot about it up until, however many years later when I was 10 or 11 and got really interested in it again. And then just recently I got introduced to harmonica. I've been messing around with that a little bit as well, so yeah.
Okay, now that's very important in your sound, right? What's your can you describe the type of music that you play?
Yeah, so it's always tough telling people that, because it's easy to say it's a mix of blues, southern rock, and folk, but there's so much more than that, I guess, because of the fact that I'm not necessarily nailed down to a specific genre. I play whatever I want, and I write a lot of different types of songs. So some songs I have sound very country. Some songs I have sound really rock, like a AC/DC style kind of rock and roll, and then some songs I have sound super like heavy blues, like maybe kind of like Gary Clark Jr. a little bit. And then there's the folk stuff. There's like the really like slow songs too. So it's really it's a blend of all of those things. The way that I like to tell people is it's good music for different types of drives.
Yeah.
So I have songs for if you're driving, long drive, a sad drive to the mountains, drive to the beach, like, all that kind of stuff. That's where I actually write a lot of songs in my head, is in the car. When I'm driving to places, I think of things and write them down in melodies and whatnot. So, yeah.
Very good. For those listening, I found Caleb on Instagram, and I heard some of his songs on his through his posts, and I just fell in love with his music. He's so eclectic, and you're very talented, Caleb.
Thank you.
And I went on to your YouTube channel, and your music's great. I love it. your influences. I'm just curious about as to what your influences are because your sound is just overall so eclectic and it has like a different personality with every song that you
Thank you.
pick.
Yeah, so my influences, another loaded question. I listen to a lot of things. Like, if you were to ask me to name some of my favorite musicians, um, I would say, like, with favorite drummers, Vinnie Paul from Pantera, Chris Adler from Lamb of God, um, a lot of more, like, kind of metal guys. So I listen to all that stuff. And then if you were to ask me my favorite guitarists, I would say one of them would be my Uncle Mike. But in terms of stuff that you could, find online or on iTunes, I've always loved, gotten a lot of crap for it growing up, but I've always loved Sinister Gates from Avenged Sevenfold. He's got a really unique style to me. And if you really dive into his guitar playing, he's really big into gypsy jazz. And so he incorporates a lot of that into his leads, which I've always really, really enjoyed and appreciated. And then love Stevie Ray Vaughan's stuff. There's a lot. So my lyrically, I get a lot of influence. I've gotten a lot of influence from like Brian Fountain from the Gaslight Anthem, Social Distortion, Mike Ness. I've gotten a lot of influence from Tim Armstrong from Rancid, Paul Westerberg from The Replacements. Kind of people that just make me think about the way that I write my music. Not necessarily. Oh, another one would be Gregory Alan Isakov, I think is or maybe it's Isakov, how you pronounce his last name. Really, really great writer. And everybody's really raving about Jason Isbell right now, and so he lyrically is a master. So there's a lot. It comes to my music in general. I draw influences from so many different things. That it all kind of ends up, so many different genres too, so it all kind of ends up getting blended in there.
Now, can you tell us about one of your favorite songs that you've written and why?
Yeah, so, let me see, if I had to pick, I really like the one that I'm going to play, it's called Summer Gives the Fall.
Okay.
I really like that one because it's another one that I wrote in the car. I was on the way to LA for a friend's birthday, and I was driving with my friend Angelica, and it was raining. I just started getting this melody in my head, and I started writing the lyrics, and basically what happened was I came up with a melody that was more or less like not what I would usually do. So like when I've played it for people, they're like, oh, it's a little different. But it was all in the car. It was all based around things that I was doing in the car, whether it was things I was thinking about or what was actually happening. Like it was raining and the rain was bouncing off the roof of the car and, things like that. So that's definitely one of them because it's allowed me to really think about the lyrics and the things that I was doing. So it was a cool one.
Good. Is that the song that you're going to play for us?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. You want?
Cool.
Yep.
Go for
ahead.
it.
Go
Okay.
for it.
Now, see, hopefully I can remember all the words. All right. Let me see here. Undress, honey, come to bed. Wait, I'm alone, it's on my head. Watching the rain bounce off of the roof. Driving with joy instead. Driving with joy and just singing about you. Dear, oh dear, I dreamt of you. Dancing and swaying these strings in tune. Dear, oh dear, could you sing me a song? Spring gives to summer and summer gives to fall. I told you, girl, I ain't going nowhere. I kill for a kiss, it's like breathing the air. Nighttime brings your picture to mind. The way my heart raced towards your hand in mine. The way my heart raced towards your hand in mine. Dear, oh dear, I dreamt of you. Dancing and swaying these strings in tune. Dear, oh dear, could you sing me a song? The spring gives to summer, and summer gives to fall. Well, here I am again, singing to myself. But I'm singing about you, so it's just as well. A drink couldn't do what you do to me. Like the Holy Spirit, you bring me down to my knees. Like running next to Jesus, you make me feel free. Dear, oh dear, I dreamt of you. Dancing and swaying these strings in tune. Dear, oh dear, could you sing me a song? Spring gives to summer, and summer gives to fall. Spring gives to summer, summer gives to fall. Spring gives to summer, summer gives to fall. Yeah.
Woo! Yay,
It is.
everyone. That
Thanks.
was Caleb Henry. Now, that was very good.
Thanks.
One question that I'm curious about, living in California, has that influenced your sound at all with your music writing?
Yeah, well, I think basically what happens with that is,
And I'm a big fan of I've always loved bands from California because there's always this great. The sound is very free and very positive. In my opinion, you guys have like a more like an easy way of, you guys just take everything's like laid back. It's hard to explain, but the music here on the East Coast for us, it's a little more the bands are a little more darker and everything's a lot more serious, where everything from California is just so, I don't know, it's just, you guys have this cool vibe about your sound.
well, I think one of the things that influences a lot of that is, honestly, I think the weather. You know, I mean, And so, because you'll notice a drastic difference from bands from Northern California than Southern California.
Oh, okay.
Like in Northern California, you get a lot more of the folk stuff. It's a lot more intentional music, I would say. And then in Southern California, you get a lot more of the fun stuff. Mad Caddies, stuff like that. You'll get a blend of. I mean, then you think about even with punk rock, there's so many bands from punk rock, and even the difference between the punk rock bands, in New York during like the CBGB time,
Yeah.
and then the punk rock bands that started popping up in California. But then even in California, there was a difference between the punk bands in Southern California and Northern California and Berkeley. And so there is a huge thing for me that I think a lot of it has to do with the weather. There's different atmospheres. A lot of people down here are into skating and surfing and living life outdoors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And where on the East Coast, I think it's probably a little more gloomy. And you don't get to maybe get outdoors as often, or especially in Northern California, a lot of their time seems to be spent in coffee shops, from what I can tell. So I think that has a huge thing to do with it, and that has a huge part for me, in terms of just there's sounds that go along with California. I mean, and it's funny because even certain bands, other bands that aren't even from California, write about California. What's his name? Drew Halcombe. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he has a song called California, and just it's funny. I think that actually the opening line is "Drove up to San Francisco, always a tear in her eye." So it's like even bands that aren't from California see these things, you know what I mean, and they realize these things. So I think that has a huge part to do with it. Reno Divorce has a song called California, and their music video is just like driving in a car, and it's the beach, it's the ocean, there's motorcycle, like it's really cool. So there are all those things that go along with it. But yeah, so I think it does influence my sound, but there's so many different parts, even where I live, which is technically in the Inland Empire. You're 40 minutes away from the mountains, the desert, the beach, Disneyland, Los Angeles. Like, you're 40 minutes away from all of it. So I'm like right in the center of basically heaven. I mean, in one day you can go snowboarding, dirt bike riding, surfing, and then catch a show in LA all in the same day.
Wow.
If you know how to drive well. But so it's really cool because people are always saying like, "Oh, you're from Southern California," like, "Oh, you guys don't have seasons," which is really interesting to me because I'm like, "Yeah, no, we definitely do." I mean, going up to from where I live, it can be 70 degrees down here, and then I drive, between 30 and 40 minutes to the mountains, and it's like -19.
Wow.
Or not -19. Sorry, that's not what I meant. 19 degrees. And it has gotten in certain areas in California below negative, especially up in like the Sierra Nevadas and stuff like that, which is obviously more Northern California. But yeah, so it really is. It's to me, it's the best place to live, and so you get a lot of inspiration. You get a lot of just different, because I draw my inspiration from experience. So I'm constantly having different types of experiences, and it's like I don't need to go to Colorado to see the mountains because I have, Yosemite. So it's like, it's like there's so many different things here. Now, granted, I would love to go to Colorado and Montana and a lot of those other states, but California really seems to have it all for sure.
I can imagine. It's probably really beautiful there. Never been there, but one day I'm going to come see you play one day.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, I was admiring your guitar. Can you give us a rundown of your gear?
Yeah, so I try to play with this acoustic as often as possible because it's my favorite. My favorite acoustic guitar, I should say. But it's fully acoustic, and I move around a lot on stage, and so I don't like to have a mic up to it, up to the sound hole, because I'm always moving, so it's pointless. And then I do have an insertable pickup for it, which is pretty garbage. I gotta get a new one. That just works better. It just doesn't pick it up that well. Really low output. So that's my favorite acoustic. That's what I record. Pretty much all of my stuff with. Anything that has an acoustic guitar on it, I'm recording with that. And then in terms of electric guitars, my pride and glory is my Supro Hampton, which has 3 gold foil pickups. It's got a tobacco burst finish and a satin neck, which is amazing. I mean, everything about the guitar is super amazing. It just looks like it hopped right out of the 60s. And then I have 2 GMPs, which are also really, really phenomenal guitars. I wish they were still made by the same person. Cameron Moline, my friend, used to make them, and he made them for a bunch of people. Duff McKagan, Ryan Roxy, Gilby Clark, a lot of people. The guys from Warrant. And those are really, really nice. One is a red flame maple top, and it is like a dark red. It's hard to explain. And then the other one's just a flat top, and it's just pure white, which I also really love because it's just so simple and straightforward. It's the white one is definitely, the white GMP is definitely my version of a Stradic or a Telecaster, because Telecasters are kind of those guitars that are just, they're so straightforward, and like you can just go ham on them, and they're really durable throughout the ages, and that's been the white one for me. The other ones get a little more care. And then I have a Epiphone hollow body. It's the Epiphone Splinter. And then I play through Blackstar amps, which have a great sound because you can switch between essentially a Marshall and a Mesa sound, which is really great. And then for my pedals, I have played through 3 pedals. I have a drive pedal, an overdrive pedal, and then I have the Dirty Deeds, Seymour Duncan Dirty Deeds distortion pedal, and the TC Electronics delay. And I think that's it. Yeah.
That's it. That sounds sounds like a lot of gear to carry around.
Well, yeah. So I don't take all of that to shows. It just depends, So on August 25th, I'm playing with the Customs at a place called Hangar 24 Brewery. You guys might have their beer out there.
Hangar 24.
It's like what's their most popular one? It's like an orange wheat beer.
Okay.
But it's fairly popular, especially out here because it's brewed right in Redlands. So we're playing there, and we're playing all night, and so that we're bringing multiple guitars. We have like 3 45-minute sets, which is going to be super gnarly. I don't typically do things like that because it's so intense, but it's a really cool place, and I, just love the opportunity to play anywhere. So we're excited for that. So that we'll take a lot more with us because we're playing a lot more. If we're doing a 30 or 45-minute set, we'll bring a backup guitar, but chances are we'll never actually use it unless something happens to the primary that we're using. So yeah.
And now, the last question I'm going to ask is, what is your favorite song of all time?
A favorite song of all time? That was asked to me I think it was actually like 1 or 2 years ago, and nobody had ever, usually it's top 5 or, something like that. Nobody ever asked me, like, what is your one individual favorite song? So I really had to think about it, and then iTunes kind of let me know, because it's the most played song in my iTunes library. It would be Alesund, Alesund, by Sun Kill Moon. It's an acoustic song, and hands down, it's the most beautiful song I've ever heard in my life. I remember the first time I ever heard it was actually watching Sons of Anarchy, and there's a scene where the main character Jax is walking through, and this is years ago that I was watching this, whenever season 3 came out, and he's walking through the shop, this little like shopping center area, and the song was playing in the background, and I was just like, it was before I didn't know about Shazam or anything like that you could like hold your phone up to it and it would tell you what the song was. So I was just like, oh my god, this is the most, I wasn't even paying attention to what was happening in the show. I was like, this is the most amazing song I've ever heard in my life. And I couldn't find it. There weren't any, as far as I had discovered, there were no Sons of Anarchy like CDs out or anything like that had the songs on it, you know what I mean? At the time there wasn't, at least. And so I was trying just for years to find the song. And then I was perusing on iTunes one day, as I do often, just going from artist to artist and saying, you might also like this or similar artists and whatnot.
Interesting.
And the name and the title of the artist and the album artwork all really, really captured my attention. Just this gloomy, kind of gray album art, like looking out a window, I believe. And I clicked the song, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my God. Like the song that I've been searching for the past 2 years, like here it is. So it was really awesome, and ever since then it's just been my all-time favorite, most beautiful song I've ever heard in my life. Everybody I show it to is just like, enthralled with. It's like you just feel consumed, I guess, when you listen to it.
Very good.
And yeah, it's just a slow little acoustic song. So Allison by Sun Kill Moon, yeah.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you so much, Caleb, for taking time and talking to Rock at Night. Before we go, can you just tell the listeners where we can get some of your information, where we can find your music?
Yeah. So iTunes and Spotify. I have an EP on there called Lost in the Particulars. And then I have 3 singles on there as well. I Got You, Used to Be, and 17. And then on my SoundCloud, I have all of those, and then a couple more. Sometimes I toss out just like bootleg acoustic stuff because I'm super poor and can't afford to record a full album. It's a full band to get all the rock songs on there and the drive-in tunes. So I kind of just got to do what I can up until the day that I'm not poor. And then, of course, there's always my punk band DKA. That EP is on iTunes and Spotify as well, and that is called The Old Days. And that was like kind of like punk rock and ska back in the day. So I have music out there, And then best way to keep up with me, I do have a Facebook. I'm horrible with Facebook. I think it's Caleb Henry Music, and then I have Instagram, which is what I'm most active on, and that is CJ Henry Music, and that's typically where I post everything for upcoming shows or day-to-day life stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and you have a great page because that's where I found you on Instagram, and I just fell in love with your stuff, and I said I have to interview him. So thank you so much for taking time and talking to us.
The pleasure's all mine. I totally appreciate the opportunity. It's awesome.
All right, thank you so much. And everyone, this is Andrea again from Rock at Night, and you just heard Caleb Henry. And make sure to listen to his music and support him by buying his stuff, buy his music, and maybe help support his new album.
Yeah, seriously, no kidding.
Well, thank you so much, Caleb.
Thank you.
And have a good night.
Yeah, you too.